Welcome back to the Dallas Bankers Club show. I'm Dean Rosencrans, host and founder of the Dallas Bankers Club. Today we have a really special guest, Brendan McGuire from PNC, the regional president and head of corporate banking for PNC. I've known Brendan for a few years now and wanted to bring him on the show to kind of talk to him about PNC and what's going on with the bank. And they're relatively new to this market from a corporate perspective, so I thought it would be good for us bankers to kind of hear it directly from the head of the bank. So, Brendan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dean.
So, Brendan, we've known each other probably 2 or 3 years. Probably a little longer than that, before you even came here.
Yeah, I'm still commuting from
Yeah. So at one point in time, we actually talked about maybe joining the bank, and I was in a different position at that point in time, and you guys weren't really even here yet.
Yeah.
But you are here now, and you guys are really making an impact. Tell us about the transition from Atlanta to here. How's it been going?
It's been going great. It's hard to believe it's only been 2-3 years, right? And I think we met, it was early 2017, and I had just been named in the role. And my number one job was to stand up a corporate bank for PNC in this market from scratch.
Right.
We had been here for over 30 years.
Right.
In fact, we just celebrated our Lockbox 30th anniversary in Richardson,
really?
believe it or not. Our asset-based shop's been here for a very long time. PNC Business Credit, one of the top ABL lenders.
And I think that's where everybody, as a banker in this market for 16 years, I've pretty much known PNC as an ABL shop here.
Yes, and they've got a strong business, great leadership. They cover the entire Southwest out of Dallas.
Okay.
But they market to a very kind of specific customer. They do a lot with sponsors and private equity with their product. The difference with corporate banking is we really call on the customer, irrespective of ownership.
Right.
So, but that was my first ask of the bank, and it was meeting a lot of people. It was surveying the scene, understanding the landscape, getting to know the market. We had a few corporate clients here. I think we had 8.
Oh, okay.
Primarily larger syndications.
Right.
For kind of double B names or higher.
Your lead deals or just participation?
More participations, because for us then it was an out-of-market strategy. When an out-of-market strategy, we typically ran that with capital efficiency, and then tried to get cross-sell to get a high return. But as opposed to when you're in market and you're established, trying to lead as many deals as you can, which require more capital, or higher capital.
How big is PNC?
About $420 billion.
Wow.
In assets. So we're big, and like I say, we're big enough to throw our weight around with the larger banks and compete head on with them, but we're still small enough to have a flat hierarchy, have a very nimble infrastructure, not a lot of bureaucracy. And then the way that we approach the market holistically across the country is by establishing these regional markets. We have the autonomy to invest and recruit and build as we want to do it, versus that kind of heavy top-down approach.
Now, where is PNC headquartered?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
And it does not mean Pittsburgh's national something.
Have we figured out what that acronym really is yet?
Last 2 weeks ago, I was in Pittsburgh for our annual communications meeting, which is a top gathering of all of our executives, where we get a download from our leadership on important things that are coming this year and where we've been last year. So one of the funny little skits they did is they had new employees come in and they interviewed them both through video and on stage. And one of the questions was, what does PNC stand for? And, I mean, all the answers were all over the place. It was awesome.
What was the winner?
Nothing. It does not stand for it. So Provident National Bank merged with Pittsburgh National. I don't know all the details, but all I know is the name PNC sounded good, but it really is not an acronym. It doesn't stand for anything.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's so simple. I mean, everybody pretty much knows PNC is a commercial bank, right? And so it doesn't have to really stand for anything. I mean, everybody recognizes that symbol for what it is, right? So
well, and I love our brand because you can explain it, and what I see it stand for innovation. I see it standing for entrepreneurial mindsets. I see it standing for driving value-added solutions to our clients. So sometimes there's baggage with the name, and especially in this market, we have the opportunity to tell people who we are and what it means.
Right. So you're driving the message.
Yeah, it's our message. We own it.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for the branding in this region. And
well, talk about Dallas. I mean, since being here for, let's call it 3 years, how many people have you hired, and what do you look at when you're hiring people? What's the culture over there at PNC?
Well, we're up to almost 30 businesses now.
Wow.
So we've been hiring across the board in all of those.
When you say businesses, I mean, most of us know you're probably talking verticals.
Well, vertical, not so much an industry vertical. What I'm
Okay.
talking about is a line of business that is a specific solution or product that a client will use.
Got it.
And utilize. So the easiest way to think about it would be, corporate treasury management.
Yes.
That's a line of business here.
Got it.
And so we're up to almost 30.
Okay.
In retail, and we can get to that later, including retail. But yeah, what we look for, I mean, our 3 pillars are: we have to be innovative, we have to be entrepreneurial, and we have to be relationship based. And I always like to say, relationship based, you earn over time. But you have to be innovative. You have to bring entrepreneurial ideas to the client. And so that's why we try to recruit across the board. We've added over 100 employees in that short period of time.
So in 3 years, you've hired 100 employees.
Over 100. Actually, it's probably more. I don't even know what the final count is over the 3-year period. But yeah, in a very, call it, 2 to 3 years, over 100 people. We have hundreds of people in the market. We have 6 offices, and now we have 3 branches, or solution centers as we call them. So we are rapidly canvassing the region with our presence.
Yeah. So when you first came to Dallas, did you have any branches here, or is that all kind of a de novo kind of scenario as well? You're putting branches in key locations.
So going back when we decided to expand, when traditionally a bank would expand through acquisition, right? You'd buy a bank and get immediately immersed in the market. Well, valuation multiples have been so high, and it's really difficult to justify the price you have to pay to generate the return you need on your capital. What we found in the Southeast, where I came from in Atlanta, now that was through acquisition, but we were able to do a lot with less branches.
Okay.
And primarily with the C&IB business, corporate and institutional banking. So the decision was made to grow organically across the country, do it methodically in what we call vintages. So I was part of the first vintage. It was Dallas, Kansas City, and Minneapolis.
Okay.
So these were cities where we had some sort of a presence, but not a full-on regional market defined. We didn't have leadership for the brand and for the market as a whole. And we were going to do that primarily through corporate banking. So with those markets I just mentioned, we would fly in bankers from, say, Pittsburgh or New York or some other place and cover them the way I articulated earlier, kind of capital efficient, heavy cross-sell. So when we decided to grow organically, it was all corporate banking and C&IB focused. And so we did all that in about a year and a half. And then, as you know, this whole industry is going through a rapid transformation. The consumer deposit is very important for a bank of any size to help fund their balance sheet. And we realized we were able to achieve a lot with less branches in the Southeast. So could we do that in other markets? And so the logical step would be to follow those expansion markets that we did through C&IB. And it's amazing how rapidly I think we pulled the trigger on that. So 2 years ago, this wasn't even on the roadmap, and here we are with our 3rd branch, and we have more on the way this year. We have 11 drive-up ATMs. We just signed a deal with FTCI, which is all the ATMs in 7-Elevens to allow our customers to use their debit and ATM cards transaction fee-free. And the exciting part too is, and I'm a corporate banker, I didn't know retail, so I'm learning this, but it's all about trying to bring that one PNC model into the market, and Dallas, or DFW, North Texas as a whole, is going to be the largest market we're going to do this in, because we are going to roll out our national retail presence. We are going to roll out a retail presence nationally, but we're going to lean heavy on tech, but we're going to complement it with physical location. And so what we're trying to do here is try to really figure out what's the right amount of retail location you need to meet your clients' needs while using a world-class technology experience alongside of it.
Well, so it sounds like PNC's, from the standpoint of making an investment, I mean, you're committed now. to Texas?
Oh, we're committed. I was
in.
just, a key part of our model, I mentioned the autonomy and the independence, but it's investing in the community.
Yeah.
And it's really being present, being visible, volunteering our time, and investing dollars.
Yeah.
And so millions of dollars we've invested just over a few years in this community. Our two primary areas are early childhood education. We just hosted yesterday, it was great, the Regional Chamber's first ever State of Early Ed.
Okay.
Rob Kaplan was our keynote speaker. It was sold out. Inaugural event, sold out, about 250 people, and it was just a great event.
Sure.
Very important topic for us. The other piece is the arts and culture, and if anyone follows me on social media, they'll see me out a lot, especially in that capacity.
Yeah.
But we feel
you sit on the board of AT&T Performing Arts?
Yes, I'm on the board of AT&T Performing Arts Center, the Dallas Museum of Art, the Dallas Summer Musicals.
Why is that so important to the bank to have that cultural aspect in a community?
Our belief is if you don't have a strong arts and community, that you can't have a strong market, and there's rewards that come with it that touch everybody, and we feel it's really important to support them and promote them and be involved in them.
Yeah.
And I think Dallas, I wasn't here at the time, but I think we've heard, we learned the hard way when Boeing was looking to relocate here years ago, and they went to Chicago, but I guess one of the reasons was we did not have a strong arts community. Yeah. And classic Dallas or classic Texas, within 10 years we have one. So the Museum of Art here is an international icon, but it's been great to be a part of that, and I really enjoyed my time.
It is fun. In my role, in my day job as market president for Associated, we try to get as much visibility into the market as you can with various not-for-profit functions and whatnot. But I'll tell you, with what you all are doing at PNC, I mean, I can't keep up. I really can't. You all are doing so much in the community, and it's great. And I think we talked about this at one point, that, really the business will come, right? But to put your roots into the community is really probably as important, if not the most important thing for a new bank to come in, that it kind of proves to the market that, okay, they're here to stay, and they're not just a flash in the pan where they're just here to take advantage of a hot market, right?
Yeah, that's our belief, and that's a consistent approach across all of our markets. And it's a reason I moved here. I mean, I had teenage daughters.
Right.
And
how are they in Texas?
There's been bumpy patches, but they're finally settling in, and I think they're having a good time and learning something new. And but there was a point where because that's not easy, right? And then my wife was like, "Do we really have to move? Because you're going back and forth once a week, and there's a flight from Hartsfield right to Love Field, and kind of." We can get by. And I'm like, no, for this model to work, we have to live here. Yeah. And we have to be visible. We have to be present. And so money's one thing, and we're never going to be ever able to outspend our larger peers. But if we invest wisely and we invest our time alongside it, I think we were able to have a disproportionate impact.
Well, I'm quite certain that your name is in the top 5 of banks in Dallas now, right? It used to be, well, it still is kind of the big guys, Wells and B of A, and for a long time JP Morgan was at the top of the heap, and then they kind of just interswitch there. But when people think of corporate banking, they think of PNC now. So y'all are you've hired the right people, and your messaging is out there now. It's just execution and getting the business in the door.
Well, thank you for the feedback. It's
but
we got to keep.
Well,
it
I'm in
up,
a couple deals with you guys, so I got to say that we're happy with the leadership that the bank has, and obviously that's an important component to bankers, is that the lead bank needs to lead. That's why they call it lead bank.
That's right.
Right. And the monitoring and all this other stuff that is required of a capital markets group. You all have, I think it's George Mestre? Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I got it. he seems to know what he's doing. So
yeah, George is great.
Yeah,
yeah we manage our balance sheet very carefully,
yeah.
so you can feel good about that. You know, PNC doesn't have a lot of what we call hard verticals. We understand that our clients want us to know their industry better, but we also want to maintain the integrity of that local market presence.
Right.
So what we've done is built these soft verticals. And that's basically a subject matter expert team that can help a local banker, not just in Dallas, Fort Worth, but also, in Atlanta, Charlotte, Minneapolis, call on a company in a specific industry and bring value add to them. So, so we have a few hard verticals, though. I mean, that's one. Energy's another one. Financial services, some of the healthcare, some of the basics.
Pretty standard.
But the other industries that can be covered by more of a generalist, but supplemented by a subject matter expert. That's the approach we've been taking.
Now, I remember when we originally met, you were a technology, media, telecom person for PNC. There's a lot of telecom, media, and technology here in Texas. Are you remaining as that subject matter expert as you've moved here as well, or are you kind of that guy that I know what that business is, but I have somebody else that's going to handle it for y'all?
Well, yeah, there's no way I could have kept up that work with my responsibilities. So we do have a vertical head, soft vertical head, Matt Embacher, who leads up our technology soft vertical. And two of my bankers really have a heavy tech background. So,
good.
So a lot of strength and confidence behind that.
Yeah.
But I would say we just had a call yesterday. It's not a committee, but it's more of a deal team call. And we were educating our partners in other parts of the country about the business. And Matt wasn't available, so I said, "Can I just dust off my credentials here and speak up on this business?" So it was fun to do that, and I do get jazzed when someone wants to take me to go call in a technology company, because that's my background.
Well, what was cool that I noticed on your bio, and I didn't know this, was you have a forensic accounting background as well. So nobody's going to be able to pull anything over your eyes, it didn't sound like.
No, and a lot of people get irritated with me sometimes. I have this knack for catching the slightest imperfection in a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, right.
If there's a period where it shouldn't be, or a period and the rest of the bullets don't, I'll see if the font is one size too larger or off. I'll find it. Kind of thinking back to my, when I was a relationship manager, some of my more interesting days when I was modeling, because one of the things when I came to PNC, I was through acquisition. So I was at Royal Bank of Canada's U.S. bank.
Okay.
And we had a tech vertical, hard vertical. So every tech company came through our group. So I was based in Atlanta. And then when PNC bought us.
Did PNC buy RBC
U.S.?
Okay.
Yes, in 2012. And
Got it.
So Southeast focused. We were based in Raleigh. The bank at the time was about $30 billion, owned by the Royal Bank.
Okay.
But from a series of events, it wasn't working out. It was a great opportunity for PNC to come into a region that it didn't have presence, and this is where we learned a lot of lessons about branch density and things along those lines. At the same time, we also were able to pick up a lot of customers. Primarily, we had small participations in, and then we were able to take those small participations and explode them into full-on lead relationships. But when the acquisition happened, I told you we're not really hard verticalized, right? And so I was kind of a little fish out of water. They're like, "Hey, look, you're a generalist now, but all I know is tech."
Sure.
And by the way, we struggle with tech. This is 2012, and so what was exciting for me and the entrepreneurial part of that was when I decided, I could make this work, because you got to go through that exercise. Is this the place for me? What I realized is I could bring a lot to the table.
Sure.
Like, they don't really know how to do tech the way I do, and I can bring that and be a part of that. And so some of my more exciting days were spent modeling myself, not trusting the credit products operation, but doing my own models.
That's right.
Where I got geeked out and quanted out, and we're kind of trying to demonstrate certain things about the financials that are specific to that business and that industry that don't translate well into a generalist kind of risk scorecard or something like that.
So you were the TMT person for up until the point that you took this position in Texas?
Yeah, well, I was an RM in Georgia, and so I had clients and I managed those, and I had one non-tech client actually. But what happened was, as we started to conceptualize these soft verticals, and I had been able to have a lot of kind of success in helping the bank learn some of these industries and sub-industries within tech, and how we could be successful with them, and how we could bring value to the equation. They asked me to step up my role and be an advisor in a soft vertical capacity to other bankers in the system. Yeah. So I was doing both. I was running my clients and I was prospecting new clients, but then I was also kind of moving around. I was opining on other businesses and understanding. So I had to keep up on all the research and the trends and all that.
Busy.
Yeah, busy.
Yeah. So in a way, I mean, moving to Texas in this capacity, I mean, you couldn't have kept all that going. I mean, you're just too much going on. Yeah,
there's a lot of things to do, and this market's super important for PNC.
So tell our viewers, other bankers, and executives, what the day in the life of Brendan McGuire. You got a lot of plates spinning. What are some of your core things that you really have to focus on in 2020?
Well, I've got two sets of responsibilities. I am responsible for the region as its president, and then I also manage the corporate banking side, which is an important part of that overall market.
When you say region, does it go all the way, all Texas, or is it down to San Antonio or Austin?
It's basically Austin north,
okay,
and then goes into Oklahoma a little bit.
Oh, really? Okay.
So that's why we kind of broadly define it and try to not use the Dallas moniker so much, because it's far bigger than that. But yeah, I'm responsible for that, and so that I own responsible for the brand and all of the businesses within it, to make sure that we are doing our best to bring one PNC to the client, and that we're collaborating and we're working together, and the different businesses here have what they need to be successful, and that whatever I could bring to the table to help them be successful, I'm engaged. So there's a lot of time spent with just the businesses and the leaders of those businesses, as well as being out in the community. Critical part of our model, right, is community engagement. So speaking at events and going to events in the evening, to make sure that we're visible and engaged. And then on the corporate banking side, it's being involved in the normal stuff, right? It's talent management, it's deal stuff, it's portfolio management, it's P&L. It's trying to make decisions, helping. We have. We spend a lot of time with our early career folks around their prospecting efforts, because one of the challenges we have for an early career professional as a banker is that we don't have a dense book to be able to just hand clients out to them. So we have to earn it organically. And so I spend a lot of time with them thinking through strategies. And we as a team, we call it the Steve Jobs room, but it's I think it's called the Preston technically. But we were whiteboarding ideas and strategies and process, and we came up with this unique process that we've launched about a few months ago, and then we meet once a week to kind of track the success we're having, what's working, what's not, what should we tweak. And
sure. Well, maybe without giving the secret to the sauce, I tried to mentor as many young bankers at other banks as well. The Dallas Bankers Club is a community. It is a forum for bankers to get together and not only talk deals, but what's working, what's not working, kind of thing. Because I was having lunch with a young banker last week, and he came up through the credit training program of that institution, has bounced around to the various verticals just to kind of test it out to see where he was going to land. And he landed in C&I, and he did some portfolio management there, but he never really had the sales background. And so, we went to lunch, and he was asking me what's a successful marketing program that I have found useful. And it's interesting for the younger bankers, because they all want to try social media as the only source of finding prospects. I go, listen, it's all of it. That's a tool.
Yeah.
But it's not the end all. I know y'all came up with that. You're tweeting and Facebook and all those other things, but you have to treat it as a tool. You still have to pick up a phone or be as creative as you can to get in to talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. So from your perspective, when you're coaching your bankers, give some advice for those bankers that are going to be watching this as to, hey, because we're going to be gone at some point in time. We're going to retire. So we have to look at the legacy of bankers that are going to be left behind. And to a certain degree, we have a duty to help them and our industry, right? So what are some of the things that you would recommend for a new banker or the bankers that are working for you now? Just one or two tidbits.
Well, I think you're right. It's really, really hard. It's the hardest part is originating a new relationship. Getting in the door is the hardest part. I think we talk a lot about, consistency, discipline, and being resilient, right? Yeah. And not to get demoralized by all the no's you get or all the lack of return phone calls. And then the other part of it is you might not think they're acknowledging your call, but you're leaving an impression. Right. And sometimes that impression could lead to a reason to meet 2 years later. Right. So that's why you got to maintain the consistency. And well, like we always like to say, we're gonna call we're going to call on you as much as we can, and we're going to get a restraining order. We haven't had one yet, but the other key component that we talk a lot about is bringing something specifically valuable to them. Yeah. So why should they meet with you in this land of banks? Right. There's banks everywhere. What could we bring to the table that's different? And it's not just credit. Yeah. And it's not pricing your deposits higher. Right. It's got to be thoughtful. It's got to be innovative, and it's got to be something that is going to improve their business. Right. Exactly. So fortunately, our bank has done an amazing job of building out a portfolio of solutions that really, most banks don't have or even care to have or talk about, but they're important to our clients and we're having success with them. So which one of those, and we actually keep an idea inventory. Okay. What are all the different products we have that are different and unique and special that we're really good at, we are confident in, and not just going after the bread and butter revolver or Martin. And there's a lot, and it keeps adding. And so we talk about, like, look, study the industry, understand that business, do your homework. Do your homework before your first call. That's right. So when you call them, it's not just, hi, I'm Mike from PNC, and I'd love to come see you and spend time and learn what's bothering you. Like, don't ask them what's bothering you. Up at night? Do not ask that question. Rule number one, don't ask what's keeping That's right. Tell them what you think might be keeping them up at night. That's right. And take a shot at trying to get that right. If you get it wrong, that's fine, but they're gonna
They'll correct you with the information that you'll be looking for at that point.
Yeah. Right? So we go out, we want to leave at least one or two good ideas behind. One might not be one might not land, both might not land, but at least that client knows we put some time in and homework. And so that would be my advice, and I think that's what we talk about. Tactically, you get into, okay, what's better, email or voicemail or both, and what time of day to call. And we had this was an amazing idea, and I'm really proud of this banker, but he hand wrote 200 individual letters. Wow. To CEOs of companies and put them in a FedEx envelope. Yeah, everyone's going to open their FedEx. That's right. So, the hit rate wasn't 100%, but it was higher than it would have been otherwise. Right. So, I think being creative, and trying to figure out ways to get their attention, and we want to bring value-added solutions to our clients every time we meet with them. And if we're not doing it right, and we got to get better at it.
So, certainly the younger bankers are most likely the middle market banker, but for the more senior bankers that are focused on corporate banking, PNC is recognized as a capital markets leader. Tell us a little bit about PNC's corporate side as it relates to size deals that you would typically go after, and those are the ones that are hard to move. Yeah, I mean those take. That you could be a career just potentially becoming a lead, become the participant, and
especially here.
Become the participant and then work your way in. Like with my institution, we'll never necessarily lead the AT&Ts or the Dells of the world. We're in those deals, but we like our position there. But the banks that are leading those, man, they're taking some big holds, some very big holds. What is PNC's position in hold levels and in corporate banking?
Well, a couple things. I guess, first of all, we want to be as relevant as possible to our larger clients. And so a lot of times that comes with the balance sheet. And so that's where we like our positioning, because we're big enough to write that same size check that perhaps JP Morgan or Bank of America can. So we have that ability. But what we learned when we came here, and this is different than, a lot of people thought it was going to be similar to Atlanta. And the cities are similar, right?
Sure.
But in Atlanta, there's not as many banks. So it's a syndication there that might have 8 banks. We come here and we're like, there's 30. There's 30 banks in that syndication. And so we're like, hey, we want to be a lead. We can give you hundreds of millions of dollars. They're like, pump the brakes. Maybe we can slot you in at 50 or 25. You're like, whoa. Yeah. So we're learning that. But I think, the way we're going to earn those lead opportunities is not just through the balance sheet. It's going to be thoughtful ideas and consistent value add over time.
Yeah.
But strategy-wise, on hold, we have a hold limit grid based on rating and things like that. But there's always exceptions to that. I'm never worried about our ability to write a big check. When and then in the middle market, right, we can hold. We could do the whole deal. But there's different strategies involved in when to syndicate and is it prudent for the balance sheet. So we kind of marry all those together. But we're a really strong middle market bank. Are we going to left lead the largest Fortune 100 companies? Probably not as many as our larger competitors, but we'll get a decent share. But we want to, we will lead those mid cap, companies well and successfully. A lot of the privately held businesses, perhaps less broadly syndicated deals. So our credit culture is balanced along those lines. And then our bankers are balanced. So our bankers' portfolio, both clients and prospects, include both middle market and large corporate.
Okay.
So one day they might be calling on a company the size of AT&T, and then the next day they might be calling on a $100 million widget manufacturer. And so we like that approach because we think there's synergies and it provides balance. And then those bankers can bring ideas from the smaller companies to the larger companies, which they would never have visibility into. And it's something I learned as a tech banker. I would be able to go call on a big public tech company and bring them ideas of companies they should meet, because I met them on the middle market, and Goldman Sachs is not finding those companies the way we were. Yeah. So
does PNC have an investment bank? I mean, can you do buy sell arrangements?
So we're unique that way as well. So we do not want to be a full sales and trading investment bank, but we got to bring certain solutions to our clients, like corporate transactions or M&A, like equity. And so what we've done is built a portfolio advisory teams and companies that actually, a lot of them brand separately to bring that solution to our clients. So for example, Harris Williams is the most well-known. It's the #1 middle market bank in the country. We've owned them for over 10 years. Most people don't know that.
Didn't know that.
And they're branded separately, different look and feel. And the reason they're branded separately in look and feel is because that brand has significant value in the middle market.
Right.
And it's probably the only successful middle market iBank acquisition ever done by a commercial bank because of partly of that structure, right? This leadership is still here, the people are still here. We acquired a firm a few years ago called Soulberry Capital. Okay. So we don't have an equity underwriting desk. We don't underwrite IPOs, but we want to bring some sort of value to a client who wants to go public. So Soulberry is an independent advisor to a company looking to go public. They're the eyes and ears for the board and for the management team, with the underwriters, with the syndicate, and the analyst. So they could bring this unique set of value to the process that they're not going to get from a traditional underwriter. So that's how we've approached that, and we have a bunch of other businesses as well that kind of deliver capital markets or corporate transaction products, or within that kind of angle or sphere.
There's just so many products that it sounds like you guys have that it's probably difficult just to let everybody know all the things that you do. So the surprise would be for me that you guys had investment banking. So that's good info.
It is, we had our client team planning a couple weeks ago, and we had everyone in the office that, with the RMs, and we, I don't know how we did it, but we were able to find nooks and crannies to put people and all that stuff.
Well, it's important for banks to, it is certainly lending money and interest income is where we make our money, but there's also the non-interest income. We have to find other avenues to make revenue, and usually that comes with those types of services like insurance or investment banking, things that are so out of the box for a traditional bank that now you're actually creating the value for your client. That isn't just the loan, right? You're actually really thinking about the overall trade cycle here in helping us out that way. So college, I noticed that you went to Kennesaw.
Harvard in the Pines.
Yeah, the Owls.
The Owls, yeah.
Now, claim to fame, I noticed, is Ryan Seacrest went there. Did you know that?
I didn't even know that. He did?
He did. He did.
I knew he grew up in Dunwoody, which was not far from where I
hey,
lived.
I'm going with what they say. It's on the internet.
That makes me even more proud of college. I was
going to say, well, so what was he like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone, the entourage following him all the time.
Yeah,
close.
Yeah. So Kennesaw is what part of Georgia?
It's in the northern suburbs, so it'd be something like Frisco or Plano to Dallas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you grew up in Georgia?
No, I grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're a beach kid?
I'm a beach guy, yeah.
Yeah. That had to have been really cool growing up down there.
Yeah, I like to say you grew up fast in Daytona, but yeah, I mean, it's a healthy, environment with regard to the ocean and being outside. I was at the beach as much as I could be, and I'm a saltwater guy, and I'm one of those people too that I don't have to rinse off the salt water. To put my shirt back on after I go surfing or something. I love the way I love feeling that stickiness and but yeah, no, it was great. But I think what led me to Atlanta and Kennesaw really was I kind of thought big, and I wanted to get where the action was, and this is just before the Olympics were going to come, and it was really exciting. And so everyone was telling me, got to be in Atlanta, got to be in Atlanta, got to be in Atlanta. And I read about Kennesaw in Business Week as an up and coming program for business school, and so I checked it out, and my parents weren't really happy because I turned down some scholarship money in Florida.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I got into my schools, and but it was a good decision. Sure. I did have to pay my way through school though, part of the deal with my parents, and which was taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And I have equity in my education.
Yeah.
And I had to struggle. I worked 2 jobs, waited tables, bartended. And then eventually I got a couple internships, one at Morgan Stanley, and then one at KPMG, and then KPMG actually. So this was fun. I started in January, and then at March they said, "Hey, can you come full time?" I'm like, I didn't even graduate my undergrad yet. And they're like, "Well, can you figure it out where you can go go night?" So I worked. They billed me out at a pretty high rate.
Yeah.
I was working there in the day, and then I would finish my classes at night. So it was, a lot of hard work, and not a lot of sleep.
Was banking something that you really had your mindset on at one point, or like a lot of bankers, we just kind of fall into banking?
Yeah, I'd say that kind of happened. So my career path led me to banking is very different than most. I go through a training or development program like we have, but. I was friends with KPMG, and I had a technology client that we actually defended them in a purchase price dispute. And I just got interested in the industry and the business, and so decided I got my CPA, and then I was like, I just don't want to kind of follow the track at the traditional Big Four.
Do you
I think it was
maintain
Big
your
Five at the time.
CPA license?
I didn't.
Okay.
40 hours a year you got to keep up.
Oh, really? Is that what it is?
It's like neurosurgeons need 20, and CPAs apparently need 40. So. But by then, what had happened was I was recruited to a technology incubator or accelerator, which was owned by a law firm in Atlanta. And what they did is they took their clients and they helped them strategically through, finding them venture capital, helping them with their board talent, their investor presentation and pitch, helping them find customers and think strategically. Sure. And so I was able to learn a lot from that experience because, helping articulate a story of this company and why someone should put equity into them, and then learning what a venture investor looks for, what's important to them, and how the whole process and transaction works. And so I kind of go forensic accounting. Now I'm at a technology incubator, and then after 4 years there, I'm technically paid by the law firm, and you can't be an equity partner in a law firm in the United States without having a JD.
Okay.
And I did not want to go back to school just for that. So, and RBC had been calling me you know, because I had a relationship with them through my role, and they're like, hey, look, we could teach you banking. You know, you're a forensic accountant, and then you know all these venture capital investors and all these companies and entrepreneurs. We think you do well here as a tech banker, and so that's how I got into banking. So on the job training.
Yeah. Now, did you meet Helen there?
No, I actually met Helen in college.
Okay.
Yeah. So we, in fact, we were in Atlanta together, and then had been there that whole time. She's actually from New York, so we're both we weren't native Georgians. And we're not native Texans either, but.
Well, you got here as quick as you could, though. That's what they say.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brendan. It is a pleasure to know you and hearing about PNC's plans for Texas. I hope you can join us again on the show. I want you to certainly attend one of the bankers' happy hours. I think you'd enjoy that.
Yeah.
So that's another episode of the Dallas Bankers Club show. Cheers.